Hey there, tonight we step quietly into a place where time itself seems to fold. A quiet village nestled in the embrace of mist and shadow. Imagine the soft crunch of your footsteps on ancient cobblestones, the faint chill of the fog settling on your skin, and the silence so deep you almost hear it breathe. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and distant wood smoke, and somewhere beyond the veil of twilight, shadows gather, not malicious, just watching. You probably won't sleep well after this, but then again, that's kind of the point. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see how far these whispers travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's drift into tonight's dark tale together. You find yourself approaching the village as the sun sinks below a horizon swallowed by thick clouds. It's the kind of place maps often forget, perched quietly between the folds of ancient hills, hidden away like a secret. The village wears its age like a well-loved cloak, weathered stone cottages with shutters clinging stubbornly to their hinges, narrow alleys curling like tendrils of smoke, and a church steeple piercing the sky with the last light of day. Folklore often tells us about places where shadows linger long after night falls. Here you notice the shadows seem to breathe, as if they have their own slow rhythm, swaying softly with the sigh of the wind. This village, experts still wonder, might be one of those rare spots where time dilates, where moments stretch and fold, like an old film reel caught between frames. As you step past the weather-beaten sign that reads "Only Welcome," you notice something peculiar. No smoke rises from chimneys. The usual signs of life, the flicker of candlelight, the murmur of voices, are absent, yet the village doesn't feel deserted. It's more like you've entered a paused story, a quiet breath held between pages. You can't help but think of the old legend whispered across many cultures about shadow villages, places where the veil between this world and another is thin, allowing subtle echoes to slip through. One such tale recounts a village in the Scottish Highlands where villagers believed shadows were not just absence of light but living memories, tied to their ancestors. They moved gently, protecting the living or warning of unseen changes. The path before you is lined with trees whose skeletal branches reach out like fingers, casting spindly shadows across the cobblestones. You hear the faint rustling of leaves, or perhaps the soft shuffle of something unseen. A subtle chill curls around your ankles and the mist thickens, swirling in patterns that tease your eyes. Was that a face, or just the trick of the light? As you draw closer, the village's atmosphere grows heavier, layered with whispered history and untold stories. Even the air seems to carry a low hum, a frequency just beneath hearing, like a lullaby sung by the earth itself. You remember the oft-cited fact. In some remote villages around the world, researchers have recorded strange infrasound, low-frequency sounds humans can't consciously perceive, that evoke feelings of unease or awe. Could this be one of those places where nature itself hums its ghostly tune? You glance at the narrow street ahead. The cobblestones, slick with moisture, reflect the dim light of a waning sky. The houses lean close as if sharing secrets, their windows dark and inscrutable. You take a step forward, feeling the quiet pulse of the village settle around you. Somewhere, a faint flicker of movement catches your eye, perhaps a shadow stirred by the breeze or something more. And so, you begin your walk through this quiet village where shadows linger, where every step invites questions you might not want to answer. But then again, curiosity is the kind of companion that never lets you turn back. You continue your slow walk through the village, the cobblestones cool beneath your feet and the fog thickening with every step. The silence is profound, yet you sense a subtle movement, a gentle murmur weaving through the still air, soft enough to be mistaken for the wind's own voice but distinct, almost like whispers. As you listen closely, the whispers seem to carry fragments of words, faint as if carried from far away, teasing your ears with secrets just beyond comprehension. There's a widely known spooky fact that many old villages host layers of history in their very streets, the whispers of those long gone often said to echo through time. It's the kind of phenomenon where the living can sometimes catch the faintest brush of voices, carried by the creak of timber or the rustle of leaves. In fact, some scholars suggest that what we interpret as ghostly murmurs may be a natural acoustic echo produced by ancient building materials and narrow alleys, although the debate remains open. The streets here curve and twist unpredictably, inviting you deeper into the village's labyrinth. As you glance around, you notice the faint outlines of weathered signs, once proud shop names now barely legible under peeling paint and moss. You imagine the villagers who once bustled here, their lives now only remembered in these fading imprints. A lesser-known folklore you stumble upon in your mind is from a small village in Eastern Europe, where it's said that during the quiet hours, the streets themselves begin to whisper the stories of their past. It's not the ghosts of people but the memories embedded in the stones and mortar. Local tradition holds that listening carefully to these whispers could reveal warnings or forgotten wisdom, but only if one has the patience to truly hear. As the fog curls around the street lamps, their weak glow struggles to pierce the gray. The air feels cool but not cold, like the breath of a patient observer watching your every move. Suddenly, a soft sound catches your attention, steps, light and rhythmic, echoing faintly behind you. You pause, turning slowly, but the street behind is empty, swallowed by the mist. You chuckle softly, telling yourself it's just your imagination playing tricks. After all, the mind is known to conjure footsteps to match your own heartbeat. Experts still wonder whether such phantom footsteps are a product of auditory hallucination in low-light conditions, or something more mysterious tied to residual energies in haunted places. Some suggest that in locations where the veil between worlds is thin, ambient sounds may bend and fold, allowing echoes of past footsteps to slip through to the present. Continuing onward, you pass a narrow alley where the fog seems thicker, almost alive. You notice subtle patterns, shapes in the mist that briefly coalesce like the outline of a figure before dissolving into nothingness. You blink, unsure if it was there at all. The shadows on the walls dance gently, like slow breaths inhaled by the village itself. In your wandering, you stumble upon a tiny, almost forgotten shrine tucked between two crumbling walls. It's covered in ivy, the stone weathered smooth by time. You remember a quiet tale from a remote village in Japan where small shrines marked the boundaries between worlds, places where spirits were invited to rest peacefully, their whispers blending with the rustling bamboo. You crouch down, running your fingers over the cold stone. The air around the shrine feels different, calm, like the village is holding its breath in reverence. For a moment the whispers grow clearer, and you almost catch the faintest melody, like a lullaby sung in a language you do know. This intertwining of history, folklore, and sensory experience creates a tapestry of subtle unease and gentle wonder. As you stand, you realize the village is not just a place on a map. It's a living memory, a breathing story, softly murmuring in shadows. A lamppost stands sentinel, its ironwork twisted with age. Nearby, an elderly figure emerges from the shadows, a lantern keeper, his weathered face etched with lines that speak of decades spent under the village's muted skies. He moves slowly, cradling a lantern whose flame flickers but never dies, casting a gentle glow that seems to push back the ever-encroaching darkness. He beckons you closer with a nod and a subtle smile, his eyes twinkling like stars caught in time. You listen as he begins to recount a story that feels as old as the stones beneath your feet. The lanterns, he explains, are not mere sources of light but guardians, silent sentinels that keep shadows at bay. Legend says they were first lit centuries ago by villagers seeking to protect their homes from the intangible gloom that sought to swallow the night. This widely known tradition of ever-burning lanterns echoes through various cultures, from the eternal flames of ancient temples in Greece to the vigil lights of remote Scottish hamlets. Such flames symbolize hope, protection, and the fragile barrier between light and shadow. The keeper's voice lowers to a whisper as he shares a lesser-known detail from a tucked-away folklore. In a nearby mountain village, it is said that lantern flames carry the spirits of ancestors who watch over the living. When a lantern flickers strangely or dims, it is believed the protective spirit is restless, warning of changes unseen. Some villagers even whisper of a time when lanterns would glow blue, a sign that the boundary between worlds thinned dangerously. Experts remain divided about whether these tales stem from natural phenomena, such as rare gas emissions causing unusual flame colors, or if they hint at something more metaphysical, a protective spirit realm intertwined with the physical. The lantern keeper's gaze shifts to yours, and you feel the weight of his unspoken question. Do you believe the light protects you, or does it merely reveal the shadows waiting just beyond? As he moves away, the soft clinking of his lantern's glass reminds you of the delicate balance between safety and mystery. You watch the lantern's steady flame as it casts dancing shadows on the village walls, shadows that seem to stretch and breathe with a life of their own. There's a subtle humor in imagining these flickering shapes as mischievous residents of their own, playing hide and seek in the dark. The keeper's tale lingers in your mind as you wander on, the village's atmosphere growing thicker with unseen presences. You pass narrow doorways and shuttered windows, each a silent witness to centuries of watchful nights. You notice how the lamplight pools on the uneven cobbles, creating pools of gold amid the gray. The lantern's glow draws you toward the village's heart, a place where light and shadow play a perpetual game, each influencing the other, neither fully victorious. And as you follow the faint glow, you can't help but wonder, are the lanterns truly protecting the village, or are they holding something back just out of sight? Night deepens and the village settles into a silence so thick it feels like a velvet cloak draping over every roof and street corner. As you move past shuttered windows, you notice something peculiar, flickers of movement within the old glass panes, like shadows stretching and twisting beyond the frame. They're subtle at first, just the faintest ripple of darkness that seems to shimmer against the backdrop of moonlight, teasing your eyes with the promise of something unseen. This phenomenon isn't unique to this village alone. In fact, many haunted locations worldwide share tales of shadow figures glimpsed in window panes, ghostly silhouettes that don't appear in reflections, but seem to occupy a thin space just behind the glass. Some experts suggest these shapes might be explained by pareidolia, the brain's tendency to recognize faces or figures in random patterns, but the debate is far from settled. You recall an obscure piece of folklore from a remote Welsh town, where it's believed that windows act as portals between the living and the spirit world. Villagers would place protective charms near their window panes to ward off shadow watchers, silent observers said to linger in that liminal space, curious but harmless unless invited in. As you peer closer, the shadows shift in a pattern almost too deliberate to be random. There's an uncanny grace in their movement, like dancers performing a slow, spectral ballet just out of reach. It's as if the old homes themselves are breathing, their glass eyes flickering with quiet life. A subtle chill crawls up your spine, and you smile softly, remembering that not all ghosts are meant to frighten. Some merely exist as echoes, part of the village's deep memory. The quiet humor here is in the idea of ghostly tenants who have refused to move out, turning the abandoned houses into eternal theaters of shadow and light. You listen carefully to the night's sounds, the distant hoot of an owl, the soft rustle of leaves, the almost inaudible tap of raindrops beginning to fall. Somewhere beyond the veil of shadow, you sense the village is awake in its own way, alive with stories that refuse to fade. Experts still wonder whether these shifting silhouettes are mere tricks of light or subtle manifestations of a lingering past. Could it be that certain homes carry the imprint of those who once lived there, forever replaying moments like ghostly photographs in motion? With a final glance, you turn away from the window panes dance, the shadows folding back into stillness. The village exhales quietly, and you feel yourself drawn onward, deeper into the night's gentle embrace. The path leads you toward the village outskirts, where an ancient cemetery rests beneath gnarled trees dripping with moss. The weathered tombstones lean like old friends in whispered conversation, their inscriptions softened by time and covered with creeping ivy. The air here carries a distinct chill, not from the cold, but from the weight of countless stories etched into stone. You step carefully between the rows, each step muffled by fallen leaves and soft earth. In many cultures, cemeteries are known as thresholds between the living and the departed, places where the veil thins as dusk settles. This quiet, moss-covered resting place seems no different, wrapped in an eerie stillness that feels both comforting and unsettling. One widely known spooky fact is that cemeteries often resonate with infrasound, those low-frequency sounds below human hearing range, thought to create feelings of unease or melancholy. Some suggest this explains why graveyards evoke such a profound atmosphere of quiet dread. Here, however, you detect something more delicate, soft, almost imperceptible whispers rising with the evening mist. They sound like fragments of forgotten prayers or lullabies, carried faintly on the breeze. Local lore tells of restless spirits who wander among the stones, not in anger, but in gentle watchfulness. A lesser-known tradition from a small village in the Baltic region speaks of memory trees, planted near burial grounds, ancient oaks said to hold the voices of the ancestors within their bark. The villagers believe that when the wind rustles through the leaves, the trees softly echo the prayers and stories of the departed, preserving them across generations. Experts still debate whether these whispered sounds arise from natural elements, like the creaking of branches or the shifting of soil, or if they reflect something more ethereal, the faint voices of a realm just beyond mortal reach. As you linger, your eyes catch a subtle flicker, a shadow crossing behind a row of tombstones, too swift to be human, too quiet to be animal. Your breath catches, but you remind yourself that the mind can weave patterns where none exist. Still, the sensation lingers like a soft murmur in your soul. You crouch beside an old headstone, brushing away moss to reveal a faded inscription. A name, a date, and a simple phrase, guardian of the quiet. It feels fitting here in this place where silence is a language spoken fluently by all who rest. You rise, feeling a strange calm despite the eerie ambience. The cemetery doesn't frighten, it soothes. A place where shadows don't hide but gently linger, watching over the village and its stories. You wander further toward the village boundary, where a massive oak tree looms, its branches sprawling wide like ancient arms sheltering the land. This isn't just any tree. It's known locally as the hollow oak, a silent witness to centuries of whispered stories and quiet secrets. Its bark is deeply furrowed, marked by strange carvings and symbols faded by time, inviting curiosity but also caution. The hollow oak is steeped in folklore. It is said that beneath its sprawling canopy, the veil between worlds thins, allowing the past to brush softly against the present. Many villagers avoid the tree after dusk, believing it to be a gateway where spirits sometimes linger or pass through. This echoes a widely known belief found in various cultures where ancient trees serve as world trees, connecting the realms of the living and the dead. As you trace your fingers along one of the carvings, an intricate spiral entwined with runes, you recall a lesser-known legend from a northern European village where such trees were believed to house tree spirits or dryads. These spirits were neither malevolent nor benign, but observers and keepers of ancient knowledge. Their presence felt through the gentle rustling of leaves even on windless nights. Experts still debate whether the carvings were purely symbolic, created as protective talismans, or whether they were actual attempts to communicate with the unseen. Some suggest these symbols functioned as warnings, guiding villagers away from places where boundaries between realities overlapped. The air around the tree feels charged, as if the oak itself is breathing slowly, exhaling centuries of stories in a silent symphony. A faint, earthy scent rises, moss, damp wood, and the faintest trace of something almost sweet, like honey long forgotten. You notice a small hollow near the base of the tree, just large enough to slip a hand inside. Peering into the darkness, you sense a stillness deeper than the night around you, as if the tree holds a secret too heavy for words. A soft breeze stirs the branches overhead, and for a moment, you swear the leaves whisper your name. There's a gentle humor in imagining the dryads gossiping about the odd visitor who dares to touch their home, but the feeling of reverence quickly settles over you. You step back, your shadow stretching long and thin beneath the towering oak. The village behind you feels distant now, wrapped in its own mysteries, while the tree stands as a sentinel between worlds. Remember that whispered warning from the last village. Here, beneath the hollow oak, the boundary feels even thinner, inviting both wonder and a touch of respectful caution. You resume your walk, the mist thickening as it swirls around your ankles, cool and insistent. The soft crunch of your footsteps is suddenly accompanied by another sound, light, deliberate footsteps echoing just behind you. You pause, heart skipping a beat, and glance over your shoulder. But the street remains empty, swallowed whole by fog and shadow. The steps continue, matching your pace, ever so faint yet unmistakable. Phantom footsteps are a phenomenon recorded in numerous haunted locations across the world. From Victorian London's foggy streets to rural Japanese pathways, countless tales recount the eerie sensation of being followed by invisible footsteps. Widely known, these auditory ghosts are often linked to residual hauntings, echoes of moments imprinted on the environment, replaying endlessly. You quicken your pace, eyes scanning the mist, but no figure emerges. The footsteps grow softer, then fade altogether, leaving behind an unsettling silence. A lesser-known folklore from a small Scottish hamlet comes to mind, where it's believed that the footsteps belong to the Silent Watcher, a protective spirit who follows travelers through treacherous nights, unseen but vigilant. Experts remain divided about the origin of such phenomena. Some attribute phantom footsteps to auditory hallucinations triggered by heightened anxiety in low-light environments, while others suggest subtle vibrations or sounds caused by wind and distant wildlife can trick the mind. Still, the debate lingers in the shadows, much like the footsteps themselves. You chuckle softly at the thought of being trailed by a ghostly guardian, imagining it as a slightly grumpy old man shaking his finger, reminding you to watch your step. The humor is a welcome companion to the growing sense of quiet suspense. As you move on, the mist parts briefly to reveal glimpses of the village's crooked rooftops, their chimneys silhouetted against a starless sky. Somewhere distant, a clock chimes softly, its toll stretching out and warping as if time itself hesitates. Remember the old clock tower you passed earlier? Its slow toll seems connected somehow to these phantom footsteps, like a heartbeat syncing the village's rhythm with something beyond ordinary time. You slow down, savoring the strange harmony of the night, the whispering breeze, the fading footsteps, the soft tolling. The village watches quietly, its secrets trailing just behind you, lingering in the folds of shadow and mist. Drawn by a faint pull, you find yourself standing before the village well, a deep, stone-lined shaft, long dried but still holding an undeniable presence. Its rim is worn smooth by generations of hands, moss creeping up its sides as if nature is gently reclaiming this silent sentinel. You lean in close, peering into the dark abyss, expecting only emptiness, but instead you hear it. A soft murmur, almost like a breath, barely audible yet unmistakably there. Wells have long held a special place in folklore around the world. From the wishing wells of Europe to the sacred water pits of indigenous cultures, they often symbolize a bridge between worlds, the known and the unknown. A widely known spooky fact tells of wells being used in centuries past as portals or gateways, places where voices from beneath the earth might be heard. You remember a lesser-known legend from a small village in the Carpathian mountains, where villagers believed the village well was alive with the voices of their ancestors. On quiet nights, these voices would call out gently, offering guidance or warnings, but only to those patient enough to listen closely. Experts still wonder whether these murmurs are merely natural sounds, water trickling deep underground, echoes of the wind, or if they represent something more metaphysical, a connection to unseen realms. The debate is ongoing, and perhaps that's part of the well's allure. Its mystery invites you to believe, or at least to wonder. Leaning further, you feel a cool draft rising from the well's depths, brushing softly against your face like a whispered invitation. The shadows seem to deepen, and you sense the village itself holding its breath, waiting for your response. You catch a faint scent, earthy and fresh, mingling with something faintly metallic, perhaps the memory of long-forgotten coins tossed in hopes and dreams. A gentle smile crosses your lips as you imagine the countless wishes made here over the centuries, some hopeful, some desperate, all whispered into the darkness with the faith that the unseen might hear. The well's murmur fades, but its presence lingers, a quiet echo beneath the village's stillness. You step back, feeling the pull of the night, and continue your journey, carrying with you the soft call of the unknown. The village's edge melts into the thick embrace of the forest, where towering trees stand like silent sentinels watching over the night. As you step beneath the canopy, the sounds shift. The rustling of leaves becomes a chorus of eerie melodies, soft and haunting, as if the woods themselves are singing. The notes rise and fall with the gentle breeze, weaving a lullaby both unsettling and strangely comforting. Night songs of forests are a phenomenon recorded across cultures, from the whispered chants of the Amazonian tribes to the haunting flutes of Celtic legends. It's a widely known fact that certain natural sounds can mimic human voices or music, a phenomenon called bioacoustics, often leading to tales of spirits or fairies serenading travelers. You recall a lesser-known story from a remote Siberian forest where the trees are said to hum ancient melodies, believed to be the voices of forest spirits. Locals say these songs guide lost souls back to safety or warn of approaching storms, blending nature's music with mysticism. Experts still debate whether these sounds are purely biological or if they represent a form of natural communication beyond human understanding. Some suggest the vibrations may influence human emotions, explaining why such forests can feel both eerie and peaceful simultaneously. As you walk deeper, the forest's melody envelops you, each note a thread weaving between branches and leaves. The shadows here seem softer, the darkness less absolute, as if the trees themselves cradle the night with a gentle hand. You pause, closing your eyes to better catch the song, feeling the rhythm sync with your own heartbeat. It's as if the forest is speaking in a language older than words, inviting you to listen not just with your ears but with your soul. A small smile tugs at your lips, amused by the thought of woodland creatures hosting nightly concerts just for you, perhaps a shy squirrel on violin or a chorus of crickets tuning their tiny instruments. The night's song fades slowly as you leave the forest's edge, but its memory lingers, a soft echo carried on the breeze back to the village. As midnight approaches, you notice the village's lanterns begin to flicker gently, their steady glow wavering like hesitant heartbeats. One by one, the flames dance and waver before disappearing entirely, leaving you surrounded by a soft, enveloping darkness that feels neither cold nor hostile, but deeply intimate, a quiet pause in the village's breath. The phenomenon of vanishing lights is a tale shared in folklore worldwide, from the will-o'-the-wisps of English marshes to the fox fires in Japanese woods, ghostly lights that appear and vanish without warning. These lights are widely believed to be spirits guiding travelers or tricksters leading them astray, their true nature remaining a mystery. You recall a lesser-known story from a Scandinavian village where lanterns were said to extinguish in the presence of shadow wanderers, ethereal beings neither good nor evil, but whose arrival signaled a moment when the veil between worlds thinned. The villagers regarded these moments with reverence and calm, trusting the darkness as much as the light. Experts still debate the cause of such vanishing lights. Some attribute them to natural gases igniting and then fading, others to optical illusions created by moisture and refracted light. Yet, no explanation fully captures the quiet, almost sentient quality these lights possess. You stand alone in the gentle darkness, the village silent except for the soft whisper of the night air. There's a subtle humor in imagining the lanterns playing hide-and-seek with the moon, a shy game of light and shadow that invites you to look closer, but not too close. The absence of light draws your senses inward, sharpening every sound, the distant rustle of leaves, the faint beating of your own heart, the soft sigh of the village settling into sleep. You feel cradled by the darkness, embraced by a world that doesn't demand your eyes but your imagination. As the last lantern's flame vanishes, you remember the lantern keeper's tale, and wonder if the shadows waiting just beyond the glow are watching with quiet patience, guardians of stories yet to be told. The slow, sonorous toll of the village clock tower reaches your ears, its deep chimes reverberating through the cool night air. Each strike seems to stretch longer than the last, as if time itself hesitates, folding moments into shadows that linger between the beats. You feel the weight of those chimes settle over the village, a gentle but unmistakable reminder that here, time bends. Clock towers have long been symbols of order and passage, their steady beats marking the rhythm of life. A widely known fact is that some ancient clock towers were designed not only to mark time, but also to ward off restless spirits, their tolls said to keep darkness at bay by asserting the presence of human order. You recall a lesser-known tale from a remote village in the French countryside, where the clock tower's chimes were believed to slow down the approach of the night's unseen visitors. Villagers claimed that during certain hours, time dilated within the village boundaries, moments stretching to protect them from harm or intrusion. Experts still debate the idea of time dilation in haunted spaces, whether it's a psychological effect caused by heightened awareness and altered perception, or an actual subtle warping of temporal flow. The concept remains one of the most intriguing mysteries in paranormal research. As you listen, the sound feels almost tactile, waves of resonance brushing over you like a whispered lullaby, yet carrying an underlying tension. There's a playful irony in the thought of time itself becoming a mischievous trickster, slowing down just to keep you guessing. The clock tower's shadow stretches long across the cobblestones, dark and distorted in the lantern light. You can almost imagine it reaching out, fingers of shadow wrapping around moments, holding them gently in place. Each chime wraps the village tighter in a cocoon of suspended time, inviting you to linger, to listen deeper, to let the slow rhythm soothe and unsettle you all at once. You find yourself caught in that delicate balance, where seconds feel like whispers and the night breathes slowly, carrying secrets on the wind. Above you, the rooftops stretch into the dark sky, jagged silhouettes against the muted glow of distant stars. Your gaze flickers to the shadowed outlines resting atop chimneys and gables, fleeting shapes, almost too quick to notice, yet undeniably there. Unseen watchers, their eyes never meeting yours but always observing, silent sentinels perched in the village's heights. The concept of unseen watchers is a theme echoed through folklore worldwide. From the rooftop spirits of Middle Eastern tales to the skyward guardians of Nordic myths, many cultures tell of ethereal beings that silently oversee human activity from high places, their presence felt but rarely acknowledged. A widely known fact is that these watchers are often believed to protect or guide, though sometimes their motives remain enigmatic. You recall a lesser-known belief from a village in the Pacific Northwest, where shadows on rooftops were thought to be the lingering spirits of ancestors, keeping vigil over their descendants below. They say these watchers reveal themselves only in the softest moments, when the night is still and the air holds its breath. Experts debate whether such sightings are products of peripheral vision, playing tricks in low light, or genuine encounters with spiritual guardians. The ambiguity only deepens the mystery, leaving you to wonder who truly watches from the village's highest points. A gentle chuckle escapes you as you imagine these watchers as slightly grumpy old souls, craning their necks and shaking invisible fists at the village's nocturnal wanderers. Careful now, don't trip over a shadow. They seem less menacing and more like cantankerous grandparents keeping a watchful eye. As you look up again, the watchers vanish, melting into the night like smoke dissipating on a breeze. The rooftops return to their quiet silhouettes, and the village's secrets seem to fold back into place. You pull your coat tighter, feeling the weight of their silent vigil settle around you, a reminder that even in stillness, the village is never truly alone. As you continue your wandering, your eyes catch faded remnants of decoration fluttering in the damp breeze, tattered ribbons, brittle paper lanterns, and weathered banners hanging limply between crooked poles. These relics hint at a celebration long since past, a festival once vibrant and alive but now forgotten, swallowed quietly by time and shadow. Many villages around the world hold festivals steeped in tradition, honoring the cycles of nature, the ancestors, or unseen spirits. The widely known fact is that such festivals often blend joy and reverence, creating a bridge between the living and the past. Yet here, the traces feel more like echoes, ghosts of laughter and song trapped in tattered fabric. You recall a lesser-known tale from a village in the Balkans, where an annual festival vanished mysteriously after a night when the lanterns failed to light and the music abruptly stopped. Locals say the festival was a ritual to honor the shadow folk, and its sudden disappearance left the village quieter ever since. Experts still debate whether these lost celebrations were abandoned due to changing beliefs, or if something deeper, an unseen force, drew the festivities to a close. The question lingers in the village's quiet corners, unanswered and waiting. You reach out to touch a faded banner, its colors muted but still whispering of joyous nights filled with dance and flame-lit processionals. It's easy to imagine the village alive once more, the streets pulsing with music and laughter, shadows swaying in time. A soft smile warms your lips at the thought of villagers trying to coax the festival back, lighting lanterns that flicker and fade, dancing to melodies only half remembered. The humor here lies in the village's stubbornness to hold onto memories even as they slip through fingers like mist. As the wind picks up, the decorations sway gently, a delicate dance between past and present, reminding you that even forgotten celebrations leave their mark, soft footprints in the sands of time. In the lingering shadows of the village square, a figure emerges, tall, silent, and wrapped in a cloak that blends seamlessly with the night. The stranger's presence is unsettling yet oddly familiar, as if they've stepped out of a story half remembered. You feel their gaze upon you, curious and unreadable, but when you seek their eyes, they remain hidden beneath the hood. They speak in riddles, their voice a soft murmur blending folklore with unsettling truths. The village breathes between the seen and unseen, they whisper, where stories walk and shadows listen. You catch fragments of tales you've heard before, twisted slightly, like an old song sung in a new key. The notion of the silent stranger is a motif found across cultures, a wanderer who carries knowledge from other realms, sometimes a guide, sometimes a harbinger. A widely known spooky fact is that such figures often appear at crossroads or moments of transition, offering cryptic advice or challenging travelers to look beyond the surface. You recall a lesser-known story from a small Mediterranean island where a silent stranger appeared each winter, sharing riddles that unlocked hidden parts of the village's history. The villagers believed these visitors were spirits of the past, guardians of forgotten knowledge. Experts debate whether these figures are real, manifestations of collective memory, or psychological archetypes representing the unknown. The ambiguity fuels the stranger's power, leaving you unsure whether to trust or fear. You listen closely, feeling the words settle like a mist around you. There's a dry humor in the stranger's riddle, like a cosmic joke whispered between worlds, inviting you to smile even as it unsettles. As the figure fades back into shadow, you sense they leave behind more questions than answers, a lingering puzzle wrapped in the village's quiet mystery. You turn your steps away from the village, the mist curling around your ankles like a soft farewell. The quiet village with its lingering shadows fades slowly behind you, but a whisper of the unknown clings to your thoughts, a gentle echo that refuses to be forgotten. It's as if the very air you breathe now carries a secret melody, one woven from every footstep, every flickering lantern, every silent watcher and whispered tale. Leaving a place like this is never simple. The boundary between here and there feels porous, like a sigh stretched thin across time. You carry with you the weight of stories half told, shadows that fold softly into your own. The village's presence lingers not as a haunting but as a quiet companion, a shadow that stretches gently behind every memory. Remember the soft murmurs from the well, the flickering lanterns that guarded and vanished, the slow toll of the clock tower bending time itself. All these threads weave into a tapestry of calm suspense and gentle wonder, inviting you to hold space for the mysteries that do not demand answers. As you walk away, the night softens, and the village exhales a breath that dissolves the eerie images, letting them drift like leaves on a slow stream. The shadows no longer press close but stretch long and thin, becoming part of the horizon's quiet embrace. You feel a calm settling deep within, an invitation to rest, to let go of questions, and to surrender to the soft rhythm of night's gentle hum. The village's secrets are not yours to solve but to carry lightly, tucked away like a cherished story told in whispers. Now dim the lights further if you haven't already, wrap yourself in warmth, and let the quiet village's shadows lull you toward peaceful sleep. Remember, some mysteries are best kept just beyond waking, safe in the realm where dreams softly tread.